with NBC5 First Warning Weather.
We start tonight with the catastrophic flooding across our region. Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Alice King.
And I'm Brian Collar. And in the last half hour, we've learned that Vermont's swiftwater rescue teams have made more than 50 rescues today. Major roads and parts of Interstate 89 are closed right now. There is some serious damage out there, and the water levels are expected to rise even more throughout the night.
Now, we've had our teams scattered across our region, giving us live updates on the changing conditions. But first, we're going to start with NBC5's First Warning Chief Meteorologist Tyler Jankowski. Tyler, what is the latest at this hour?
For many towns, this is worse than Irene, both in terms of the level of the water on the river and then the damage that we will discover tomorrow. Because with darkness and the rising water, it's impossible to know the extent of the damage that is out there, particularly in central Vermont. We just got the latest number from the Winooski River at Montpelier, 20.74 feet. That is way over a foot above what happened in Irene in 2011. It's not quite the level of the 1927 flood, which is number 1 on the historic CREST list, but 20.74 is very, very high. It's number 2 all time for a CREST in Montpelier. And we're seeing limited video of what's going on there. The water's everywhere. People being rescued left and right. And I'm sure there's a lot that we don't know yet. Unfortunately, that's how these situations go. You can see the rain is pretty diminished in southern Vermont right now. We've got one patch over the southern Adirondacks. That could cause some localized flooding. But the core of this rain is mostly over northern Vermont. It's now lifting north of Montpelier right now for the most part. I mean, there's still some light stuff left over. But the heavy-duty rain here is mostly through Enosburg, Bakersfield, over towards Newport, and down towards the Haverhill and Woodsville, New Hampshire area. Another flash flood warning there for Grafton County. But pretty much all of us in Vermont have a regular flood warning that goes, let's say, for the foreseeable future until the water starts to go down tomorrow, because it's still going up on most rivers in northern areas. In terms of additional rainfall, not a lot in Saranac Lake or Lebanon or Rutland, but there's one pocket there just west of Rutland, and then in the northern Champlain Valley of another couple of inches overnight. But we're really starting to wind down the rain aspect, even though the rivers are still going up. So we've got a couple here that'll be in major flood stage if they're not already. The Mad River, the Winooski River, the Lamoille, and in Essex Junction, the major crest happens tomorrow morning. Probably after the sun rises. So we've got a long time to go with the flooding, even though the rain is winding down. All right, Jack Main is somewhere in our region, perhaps in the Walmart parking lot in West Lebanon, but you've been all over the place, Jack. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Yeah, Tyler, we are currently sitting in the West Lebanon parking lot. I'm with Liz Strepa, who is on scene giving the details from central Vermont. We arrived in Montpelier shortly after 4 p.m. There had not yet been any serious flooding that we had seen. We did a loop around the capital city, and everything was pretty calm for the moment. The water was rising, but we were pretty safe for the moment. We then got word after we went on air around 4:30 that there was a road closure in Berlin. We went to a trailer park where the road and the campground there was completely covered in water, and we saw a trailer that was quickly sinking into the earth. It was a very eerie scene in Berlin. We then backtracked after 6 p.m. back into the capital city, and things had gotten catastrophically worse since we departed about an hour and a half prior. State Street was beginning to flood. Main Street was beginning to flood. And we were running around. We went to the police station, the fire department, and that all took about 10 minutes of us on foot. And by the time we got word that we had to leave Montpelier, everything was completely underwater. It was a surreal scene, and one that I'll certainly never forget. We ended up waiting in traffic for about an hour trying to get on 89 North. We did not know that the on-ramp was actually closed. There was no police. There were no municipal workers there working on the scene. And we ended up having to go south to try to find a place to hold up for the night. And every single hotel that we've called about a dozen plus hotels, is booked. And we have to imagine that has to do with see towns that have been evacuated as people try to find safety for the night. We're going to continue to bring you more from the Upper Valley, but for now, Alice, we send it back to you.
All right, Jack, stay safe. We'll check in with you in a little bit. In downtown Winooski, the Winooski River is rising and raging tonight. NBC5's Tyler Boronsky is live there now. Tyler, what can you tell us?
Yeah, a little earlier, there's a bunch of people looking out at the Winooski River. It's really hard to miss if you're going through downtown Winooski, as you can hear the intensity of the water levels right now. Some people I spoke with say this was a crazy sight to see. It reminds them a lot of Hurricane Irene, actually. And it's been going like this all day and hasn't really stopped. The water levels have gone up significantly since these videos that you're seeing now on your screen were taken earlier today. And they're moving at extreme rapid pace and picking up a lot of debris on the way. The good news is it doesn't look like there's been any significant damage. But however, the concern is much greater upriver, where water is expected to continue to rise overnight and jump into the banks. Our NBC5 team will continue to monitor those conditions and provide further updates. We're live in Winooski. Tyler Bronsky, NBC5 News.
All right, Tyler, thank you. Vermont Governor Phil Scott holding a press conference in Waterbury earlier today. He says emergency crews have been preparing for this storm since last week. In southern Vermont, a lot of evacuations going on. First responders say they've already had a report of a death in Londonderry, Vermont, but it has not been confirmed yet. As state leaders continue to monitor the situation and the damage left behind, there are emergency crews from other states here to help, including from North Carolina.
We've been there to assist them in their time of need, and now they're giving back.
We have a pretty difficult state to manage for water rescue because we can't go from east to west on a storm like this because it takes out the road systems.
The governor tweeting this out tonight, saying flooding in parts of Vermont have surpassed what was experienced during Tropical Storm Irene, reminding everyone to stay away from the waterways. Now, if you have been told to evacuate by emergency crews and need help with finances, food, or medication, you can call 211 for help from the state.
Meanwhile, northern New York communities still trying to clean up and repair the damage from last week's flooding as this storm system comes through. We sent a crew back to Altona today. The damage between Rock Road and Devil's Den Road is pretty extensive. Crews have been working to fix the roads, but because of the weather, they couldn't be out there today. New York Governor Kathy Hochul toured flood damage in the Hudson Valley today. Nearly 10 inches of rain fell on the region in the last couple of days. Typically, the valley would get that amount of rain for an entire summer. A rare flash flood emergency was issued for the entire state as emergency crews urge people to find higher ground.
Let's start with what we've seen, who I've spoken to. Just got off the phone with the FEMA administrator. She has offered all the help necessary. So the first step is assessment. Assess the damage, assess the monetary value of the damage so we can put in our request for FEMA assistance to help the communities have the resources they need to rebuild. Also spoke at the White House, offered assistance in any way possible just minutes ago.
Well, that's all good news about what the governor talked about today. It's got to be a relief for many. Last week, the federal government decided that some communities didn't reach a certain threshold to get federal help, so the price tag for repairs would fall on local towns. Personal property would not be covered either.
Still ahead at 10, a man accused of killing a Rutland City police officer answering to a judge from a hospital bed. The charges he's facing.
It's time for your next home improvement project. And right now, Able Paint, Glass, and Flooring is offering 0% financing. Transform the look of any room with new flooring from Able. Our winter flooring sale is going on now. With so many affordable options available, our installers ready to go, and our 60-day walk-on-it guarantee, now is the perfect time to give any room in your home an upgrade. Give us a call or visit ablevt.com.
There's a lot of similarities between running a marathon and driving a truck. You start little and you work your way up. You learn to walk before you can run. You learn to run before you can jump. You know, it's a progression. Do the job right. Take pride in your work. It's the same thing with running a marathon. My name is Dan Gagnon, And I'm a front-end driver, and I've been with Casella for 18 years.
The car buying culture has changed, again. The road has thrown many curves, but the Automaster is still ahead of them. Shopping in person, online, new or pre-owned. Delivering the ultimate automotive buying process is the experience every driver deserves. The Automaster sets the standard of car buying. The others are still trying to catch up. That puts the Automaster ahead of the curve.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to imagine your future differently.
Thank you for coming together.
With Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format, take courses on your own terms and apply the skills you learn right away.
It's 10:12 on this Monday night, almost easy to forget which day of the week it is after the day we've had, but we'll show you what Storm Tracker looks like right now. An impressive loop here. This is the last hour. So southern Vermont is largely done with the rain, but there's definitely an interesting pocket here over the southern Adirondacks into a little bit of Rutland County. So that's one area, but the primary area of concern is in northern Vermont. All of this has to sort of spin overhead and through and out tomorrow morning. So there's still some areas of rain expected overnight and into tomorrow morning, but generally speaking, the rain is slowing down for most of us as of 10:12. Trouble is a lot of the rivers will go up for many hours even after the rain ends. So we'll take a look at those river forecasts here in just a little bit. Alice, Brian?
Thank you. Well, the man accused of killing a Rutland City police officer in a crash pleading not guilty to multiple charges in court today.
He joined the arraignment from a hospital bed. When he gets out, he's facing a $100,000 bail. NBC5's Lauren Granada was in court. She brings us the story from Rutland.
More than a dozen law enforcement officials showing up for the arraignment of 20-year-old Tate Rayum, who faces 2 charges, including negligent operation and attempting to elude an officer, both with death resulting.
Mr. Rayum is a 20-year-old young man with no prior criminal history.
Rayum pleading not guilty from a hospital bed at the UVM Medical Center in Burlington after his attorney said he suffered broken ribs and significant spinal injuries.
We're going to waive the 24-hour rule, waive formal reading of the charges and other Rule 5 formalities, and enter pleas of not guilty.
Prosecutors originally argued for bail to be set at $500,000 before the judge set bail for Rayum at $100,000.
The defendant is at an extreme risk of flight to avoid prosecution and warrants the imposition of the requested bail.
Court documents state Rayum consumed cannabis before the crash and that he has a history of not taking his medication for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia.
The defendant fled twice in an attempt to avoid prosecution.
According to police, on Friday, they pursued Rayum after he attempted to break into a home, which eventually led to the death of 19-year-old Rutland City police officer Jessica Ebbinghausen.
I hope that she's in a better place, in a safe place next to God.
Rutland City Police Chief Brian Kilcullen telling NBC5 off camera that Ebbinghausen was driving a cruiser at the time of the crash as part of a field training program. In the meantime, the community continues to mourn the loss of one of their own with a growing memorial outside of the police department.
It was very beautiful, and so we wanted to pay our respects and contribute to the community.
Reporting in Rutland, Lauren Granada, NBC5 News.
And the candlelight vigil for Officer Ebbinghausen has been rescheduled for this Wednesday night at 6 outside of the police station downtown. We continue our weather coverage tonight in Lamoille County. Towns there are also feeling the impact of this storm.
We had a crew in Stowe this afternoon where several lakes and streams in the area already crested. The Little River runs through Stowe. Its level is rising high and overflowing onto River Road. Stowe's emergency management director says they have a full crew on standby and are working with the highway department, town police, and firefighters to address any issues that come up.
We send them out to do various tasks. If someone calls up and said we have a potential culvert overflowing or something, we'll send the appropriate people out there, or we may just send people out to put eyes on it and just see what it looks like.
Multiple roads are closed off to the public, including Moscow Road and Brownville Road.
The Vermont Agency of Transportation closing all the state rail trails because of the flooding. We're talking about the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, which is supposed to have a celebration of it on Saturday, the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail, the Delaware and the Hudson, and the Beebe Spur Rail Trail. The state wants you to stay off these trails because of the flood damage and downed trees. They'll be closed until further notice.
The Weston Playhouse in Weston, Vermont, dealing with some serious flooding. The theater company shared this photo on their Facebook page. They say company members are safe and they're thankful for emergency management teams of Weston and Ludlow who help provide shelter and transportation. They will continue to evaluate the damage, salvage what they can, and get through this difficult time. All right, we have new video in tonight of the Ottaquechee River behind Simon Pierce in Quechee. The water levels getting even higher tonight. During Irene back in 2011, that bridge was rebuilt because it actually got washed out. And emergency crews are keeping an eye on the river there, but the covered bridge there is closed. And again, they are keeping a close eye on all the water levels there.
Look at the erosion. I don't know if that happened because of today, probably, right? I don't know.
I wasn't paying super close attention to the video. Jeez, but there will be pockets of flooding that are worse than Irene. This video was taken by someone on Twitter. Jake is his name. Very short video, so we put a couple together, but you can see the water, hear the sirens. That's right in downtown Montpelier. The car's stuck in the middle, and that was about 3 hours before right now, and the water's been going up since then. So it's hard to know for sure exactly where the water is right now in terms of in buildings and in houses and that kind of thing, but we do know that water rescues have been ongoing, and they're certainly still ongoing, especially in central Vermont. We had this video in of the Ludlow damage from Pat Moore, and you could see where Route 100 and 103 share the same road there, the washing of the washout of the road, the mud and the water over the road, can't even drive through right now. That's near the entrance of Okemo. So at least at the Winooski River gauge in Montpelier, we've surpassed Irene by over a foot. The reading is 20.74, only topped by the 1927 flood of 27.1 feet. So right now we've got two areas of rain, one over the southern Adirondacks. There may be some flooding in that overnight, and then one lingering batch over northern Vermont. This is slowly winding down. The rain will slowly diminish here as we get past the midnight hour. So another 2 hours or so with the northern batch. The southern Adirondack batch of rain here goes till the early morning hours tomorrow. It'll slowly diminish and work out to the east. So we've got flood warnings all over the place, mostly in Vermont, a little bit of Essex County, New York, a little bit of Grafton County, New Hampshire, but the core of the problem overnight is in northern Vermont because of this 24-hour rainfall, several inches. The last big number I saw was 8.5 inches at Mount Holly, but there's probably going to be some that come in that are higher than that. So here is Futurecast as we go forward. We've got rain diminishing through the overnight and sunrise hour tomorrow. The sun actually comes out in a big way. I mean, it turns into a beautiful afternoon. But that's going to reveal all of the damage that we've got, and there is a lot of it. So here's the 5-day forecast. We've got improving conditions tomorrow, a breather finally on Wednesday, and then more thunderstorms that can cause more flooding Thursday and Friday. Well, we won't think about those for now. We've got our own issues right now. Let's get an update from Tyler Boronsky standing. very loud Winooski River. Can you hear me, Tyler?
Tyler, I think I got you now, and yeah, I think that's the consensus around here is if you didn't even see the Winooski River, you could definitely hear the intensity of it if you're around the downtown area. The gushing water levels right now just at a kind of an extreme level with the speed of it and the, I guess, height it's reaching at right now. Some people I spoke with early in the day say this reminds them a lot of Tropical Storm Irene when that happened. The good news is it doesn't look like there's any damage around some of the buildings in the area. Waterworks, restaurant and bar is right next door to us. The concern though is much of the greater upriver water levels are expected to continue to rise overnight and jump into the banks and onto the street level. So we are still monitoring these conditions for now here in Winooski, and we'll make sure to provide further updates as throughout the night. Live in Winooski, Tyler Blonsky, NBC5 News.
Right, Tyler, thank you. And NBC5 will continue tracking the storm for you online and on air. You can download the MyNBC5 mobile app for the latest updates.
Here's a live look at the Winooski River tonight. We'll be right back.
Watching NBC5 News.
Well, maybe on the long ride home tonight from work, you stopped and got a lottery ticket.
Yeah, the Powerball jackpot is still looking for a winner. No one took home Saturday's $615 million drawing. So the pot now jumps to about $650 million. That would be the 9th largest Powerball prize ever. The next drawing is tonight at 10:59, and you can watch that right here on NBC5.
Be nice if someone from our region won it.
Yeah, we could use some good news.
Considering what we've been through over the last week.
Some rivers are in major flood stage, some are headed for it overnight. This list is an estimate, it's constantly changing, but basically these that you see here, that is a forecast for the CREST. So the Mad River near Moortown is supposed to crest in a major flood stage. The Winooski in Montpelier has been in major flood stage. It is the second all-time crest on record in the capital city. The Lamoille River at Johnson is expected to be major. Essex Junction, the Winooski at Essex Junction, should be several feet into major category tomorrow morning. And that's mostly around and after sunrise. That'll be the last crest probably in Essex Junction, and it's already roaring as we heard in the live shot. The Otter Creek at Center Rutland is expected to be in major flood stage. The Williams River already is near Rockingham. And then the Missisquoi, the forecast is moderate, but the Missisquoi River in northern Vermont is still seeing a lot of rain. So it's still a developing situation there. I could see moderate or major in that area. A couple of more here. White River at West Hartford, Sugar River at West Claremont, Connecticut River. That's a big one. North Walpole, it gets bigger at least as you go south. So to have that in moderate flood stage as we go into tomorrow, just a sign of how much water has fallen and will be falling. Sable River as well, some moderate flooding, but nothing the folks there haven't seen, especially in an ice jam. So we'll have updates at 11.
All right, we'll see you in about 30 minutes.
Good night, everyone.
Get caught up on local news, originals, and more. Download the Very Local app and stream for free on Amazon Fire TV, Roku, iOS, and Android mobile devices.